Welcome to the Hunt360 podcast. I'm Ethan King. I'm here with founder of Hunt360, Jeremy Williams, and I've been waiting to talk to these guys all week. We have Jason Dickens from Six Sight here. Jason, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, glad to have you. So, I guess to start it off, tell us a little bit about Six Sight, what it is, what it stands for, and what it's about.
Okay, Six Sight Gear, founded by Stephen Hawley. He was a Navy SEAL. He served, I think it was, I may miss it, 8 years in the teams, and got out of the teams, I believe, in 2004, and got into commercial real estate and always had a love for the woods and elk hunting. And as a lot of those team guys do, he had a drive for wanting to go out and searching for a community aspect and a brotherhood. And with that, he found the desire and the passion to build a brand of hunting gear. And I believe it was, so 5 years ago, he got together, found some investors, got a sewing machine out, put a few pieces on, and sure enough, 5 years later, we're building high quality hunting gear, and we try to pretend like we're really serious, but we don't. We get some work done, but we run around, just have a bunch of fun. And but our system is based off layering, and so you have your base layer, mid layer, your soft shell, and your outer water layer whenever it's raining. And so we like to building prototypes, testing those in the field, and then getting those to our customers. And then we pride ourselves on high customer service. And so guys call in, something doesn't work, a zipper breaks, something fails, something tears. We make sure that they have quality gear that they're going to use in the field that serves them right, because we use the same gear as well. And so we hold ourselves to that high expectation that if we wouldn't use it in the field, then we're not going to let other people use it in the field. And Steven's, his character and integrity really carries over to his passion for the Six Sight brand. And just for me, it's a pleasure to be able to work in a company like that, to where we have that high standard of quality and the high standard of just making sure our consumers or our customers get the best that there is.
Absolutely. Jeremy and I were fortunate enough to be able to meet Steven and chat a little bit last week, and he seems like a great guy. And from what I understand, I guess his time with the SEAL teams and the things he learned there translated to what he's doing with the Six Sight gear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he is a man that if sleep keeps him from being successful, he doesn't sleep. So I think his record for Monster Energy drinks in a day, I think, is 13.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was last season. I made an all-night trip to Colorado, and I think the day before he had made one as well. And he came in, and he's kind of low-key, kind of humble in his manner and his demeanor. And I was like, dude, how you doing? And he's like, man, I got to clean out my truck, and all these Monster Energy drinks fell out. And I was like, dude, like, how many did you have? He's like, oh, I had one an hour. I'm like, dude, one an hour? I'm like, you're getting old. You can't, like, I drink like two and I'm done. And well, that showed me that there's if he puts his mind to it, he's going to get it done. I mean, back in February, he told me he wanted to run a marathon. I'm like, when's the marathon? He's like, oh, it's 2 weeks out. So he ran a couple times and went and ran a marathon. And I mean, he had blisters all over his feet, couldn't walk for a few days, but his mental toughness and his drive to succeed is something that we don't make very many excuses around the office. And if you're gonna say you're gonna get the job done, you're gonna get it done, because he expects that. And but yeah, learning and seeing the stuff that he has taken from his time in the military, and seeing how he applies it to business is something that's been very beneficial for me. And a lot of it, the guys he served with, seeing how they operate in different ways in their different businesses, and how they apply that community, that brotherhood aspect, and just that grit to always get the job done, no matter what the obstacle. Sometimes it's encouraged me and really just given me the motivation to whatever I'm doing, you do the best at, and really just make no excuses. I mean, these guys, you start making excuses, they call you out on it real quick, and you don't want to be called out by them. It's not very fun.
No, I'm sure. I'm so fascinated by SEALs, just their mindset, the way they do things. Like you talking about him picking up and running a marathon 2 weeks. I mean, I don't know if you've familiar with David Goggins, being, his story,
Yep.
and he's a
No,
SEAL,
he
it's
is,
the same
yep.
mentality, and it's just so fascinating to me. And I can only imagine being able to work under him, see the way they act, see the way they do things, the way their brain works. I'm sure that's got to be pretty cool, and it's definitely unique to be in the position you're in.
No, very much so. I'm privileged to be able to work with a lot. I tell people I get to do a lot of cool things with a lot of cool guys, and part of that even goes whether it doesn't matter if you've served or not served, if you're a SEAL, a Ranger, or if you're just a regular civilian. A lot of guys I met, their title doesn't mean anything, and because what they, I tell people I have the deepest and greatest respect for people who have served. That doesn't mean they're a great person. And a lot of these guys I get to deal with stuff with, what they did in the past was awesome and great, but who they are right now and the kind of family men they are and the walk they have in their life following after God and family stuff. It's amazing to see all that drive that they have, and they're taking that drive and using it in the right avenues. And that's something that I have real respect for. Guys who, because of their service, they're almost, we know serving in the military, you go through issues, emotional, physical, spiritual issues, especially guys who are operators, special forces. Divorce rates are very high. And a lot of these guys I know, they power through that and just keep after their faith, and that's something that I really respect about them. Almost, I would say, more of their walk they have with the Lord more than what they've done in their past. It's just a huge inspiration. It's good guys to look up to, good guys to work for, and good guys to have mentors for. So they know that you got your back because you know you're all brothers.
Yeah, you see that in a lot of the military companies. They all have their back and have that drive for the workforce.
And so along with, Six Sight started 5 years ago, and then along with that, in our same office, Stephen started a nonprofit called Carry the Load. Carry the Load's purpose is to bring the real meaning to Memorial Day back. And so starting March, April, May, they have teams go out throughout the U.S. and do marches. I believe it's 24-hour marches, and all leading up to Memorial Day. Where Memorial Day we hike, run for 24 hours, and along the route they have hundreds and hundreds of billboards of guys who've died and while serving, and it's all to bring back the real reason of Memorial Day. And with that, I believe last year they had a couple million that was donated back to various military causes, and Steven's been running that now, I guess 8 years, and he's throwing out a few first pitches at MLB stadiums. And so one of the games we have in our warehouse, the Six Sight office, we play home run derby, and he can't strike me out. And so I give him heck. He went to the Naval Academy and was quarterback of the Naval Academy. So very, very good athlete. And then, of course, being in the teams and going through buds, he has that drive. And but he's yet to strike me out. So we kind of have a little sports rivalry going with that.
What's the most home runs somebody's hit in the Derby before?
Oh, gosh. Too many to count. Although one of the bad things we have a Mary, who's our in-house seamstress with Six Sight. This was a month or two ago. We're in there, and a lot of times Steve and I will just break away and just kind of go throw or shoot our bows upstairs and play a little catch or home run derby. And he's about to pitch to me, and Mary goes, whatever you do, just don't hit me in the face. So, of course, first pitch, I hit it and just nail her around the face with a squishy ball. But needless to say, she was not very pleased with her actions. Forgiven quickly, but not quite forgotten. And so we get to so Six Sight and Carry the Load. We share the same offices there in Dallas. And then another opportunity I've had through a connection of Stevens, one of the guys he served with on the teams. He's the director of the American Warrior Association. And his name is Will Spencer, and him and one of my other brothers, Danny Bridges, they asked me to serve with the American War Association in the summer of 2018. And so we had 4 weeks where we took combat vets, active duty guys, first responders, and small groups. I think we had groups from 3 to about a dozen guys in different sizes, and we took them into the wilderness in Colorado for 5 days, and basically got them away from distractions that home brings, that family brings, that their work brings, and then all the built up stuff they've had in the years, and the point to, or all the stuff they've had built up to the point where they are now in the wilderness. And we create an avenue for them to set a foundation of what God's identity is in their lives. And I tell people I had no qualifications for it. Dandy and Will asked me to serve, and I was like, man, the only thing I'm good at is I can make sure people don't get eaten by bears. Other than that, I don't have. I've worked with some youth and ministry aspects. I have no professional education on counseling or ministry, and but I was through a lot of prayer, and a lot of studying. I was able to speak into a lot of guys' lives because a lot of these guys, most of the stuff they were dealing with was actually pre-service years, and so. Will, our director, he told it to me best. He said everyone goes through their own journeys, and you don't compare the stuff you're going to someone else because we all handle it the same.
Right.
But at the root, we're all experiencing some type of the same emotional and spiritual pain. It may look different on the outside, but the heart is always hurting. And the more we can come together to create a brotherhood, a community of guys who can open up and maybe open up some of those emotions and get that stuff out. So the more we hold that in ourselves, the more the devil can get a hold of it. But once we get it out and create accountability with guys, that's when the healing begins. So we were able to do that through the wilderness settings. And we're able to do a lot of cool things up there. I mean, we saw bears, moose, a bunch of deer, mountain lion. A few hailstorms, rainstorms, and I believe one guy, Dandy, he runs he's our faith-based director. He went into shock because we bet him he would swim across the lake, and he did, but he went into shock. It was kind of funny, and we do all sorts of stuff there: fly fishing, horseback riding, and then daily devotionals, going out in the wilderness, spending time just you and God in the mountains, and we get to do a lot of amazing things out there. And so we did 4 programs last year, and this year, I'm blanking on my numbers now. I think we're doing about 10, 8 to 10, with 2 of those being women's programs. And then we have men's programs throughout the summer, which consists of 5-day trips into Northwest Colorado. And then 2 of our trips are expedition-style trips. We'll be hiking in Big Bend for a week, and then we'll be blanking on it, near Mount Whitney here on the West Coast. And we'll do 7-week expedition trips where we'll take a smaller group of guys and have a real in-depth week when we're studying Jesus' time in the wilderness, his 40 days in the wilderness. And so...
Wow, that's very powerful.
Yeah. And so we have a busy summer ahead, a lot of time in the woods. And then eventually September and October comes and we get to go to the Elk Woods again. And
living it up in the Elk Woods.
Well, it's hard. It's hard not to live it up in the Elk Woods. That's I start talking about that stuff, I start smiling a lot.
Yeah, I can see it. I mean, you start your eyes. You start glowing a little bit. When you start talking about Elk Woods.
So as much as it's a great thing y'all are doing with that, and you're doing, and I know from my experience, it seems when I've set out to help others, a lot of times they end up helping me as much, if not more, than I've set out to try to help them. What has it done for you personally? Being a part of all that?
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, as anything, I know from being an elk guide 6 years now that if I can take someone in the field, if someone was going to take me in the field, I would expect them to be a master of their craft. And I knew that serving with AWA was definitely a big pill to swallow because I knew I had to prepare. Because for one, I had to prepare and get through some stuff I was going through emotionally and spiritually, but I also had to prepare for the burdens I was about to take on because going out there, it was something that I was about to go through stuff that there's really no way to prepare for. I mean, those guys who've been in war, there's no way for them to prepare for it. And then they have to get some of that stuff out, and they have to have someone who's going to listen. And I knew I was got to listen and then be on guard for stuff that might come in, the devil's trying to get us, and And so I knew I was have to be on my best and in prayer and the Word. And so, yeah, with that, I mean, preparation, it was 3 or 4 hours a night. I mean, just digging in the Word, praying for the guys. I had all the guys' names, praying for them specifically. And it was amazing to see some of the stuff that came out of it with some of these guys would start pouring their heart out, and they would say something, or they would mention something, and it was something that I'd prayed for, or they would say something and I would speak a verse on them, and it was just what they needed to hear. And so it was amazing to see just the effect that prayer has in preparation and how it actually played a role in those guys' lives. But yeah, I mean, it was something that if I didn't hold myself accountable, I for one would have missed out on stuff. But I've also been doing those guys a disservice because if I'm not the best I can be for myself personally, or in serving in a capacity that's for the Lord, if I'm not being my best, they're gonna miss out. And there's no greater thing you can do. It's almost like you'd have to hate someone a lot to not do your best to help them work through their stuff or find the Lord. And I told myself, I was like, wow, I'm not gonna let that happen. It's like you said, accountability. And those guys, even though they're holding me accountable, I knew they would need someone or something, or they would just need prayer. I knew I had somewhat of the ability to do that. And so knowing that was like, I was very stressed. Because part of me, I just finished school. I was 24 years old, and I was like, well, I'm about to go talk to guys who served our country. They're looking at me as some college graduate with no qualifications. But talking with those guys, nothing like that ever came up. It was amazing. A lot of the stuff the guys went through, especially in their childhood, I had some similar. We could speak on that and how we recovered with that, and I talked with them how the wilderness helped me heal with that. And you talk about accountability. That's probably the hardest thing I've done, was preparing for that in a way, mainly just for my heart to stay pure, my heart to stay ready for the stuff that they're not throwing it on me. Once that stuff gets out there, it's some heavy stuff. And the devil, he works real hard to screw us over, and he's real good at it. And even after these guys have left, some of them have been going through struggles. I've been going through struggles. And then whenever I can, we're praying for the guys. And some of the guys who live here I keep on forgetting we're not in Texas. We're in I say Nevada the wrong way. Nevada, I think Nevada. It is. Yeah, I guess I say Nevada.
I say Nevada.
Okay.
That's a southern thing.
Yeah.
But whenever I can, just seeing the guys. For one, I consider them good buddies, and but they now hold me accountable. And I'm able to hold. They consider me that I hold them accountable as well. But yeah, that's probably one of the hardest things I've ever gone through, was preparing for it. Just because I knew that we were about to go in the trenches and get some like heavy spiritual warfare, and it's kind of fun. I like that stuff. It's a challenge.
Yeah, well, that's a tremendous mindset to have, and very admirable, and I respect the heck out of that. I mean, it's very cool.
Yeah. But I guess my short inspiration from that, my grandpa served in World War II. He was 99th Infantry, 393rd Regiment, Easy Company. He was a Staff Sergeant, Robert Waldrop, and he battled the Bulge. He ran across the Lukendorf Bridge at Remagen, and then received 2 Purple Hearts, Bronze Star. And I grew up hearing war stories from him. And then he passed away now, I believe 5 years ago. And I actually had the privilege. I was able to go to Germany, and every place he ever mentioned in his war stories to me, I got to go and physically set foot in those places. So we went to Belgium and saw where he spent the winter of 44 and 45 in a foxhole, and then he moved farther east to the Rhine River and the town of Remagen, where the Lukendorf Bridge was at, and I got to see where he led his little regiment across the bridge. His guys were the first group to get across without taking on casualties, and I believe he was 19 years old whenever he was doing that. And so being able to see where he set foot in that place, I've always had a large respect and just an inspiration from guys who served, and all my honor and respect for guys who served came from him. And he was about a 5'6" guy, worked for a paper company, never smoked, never drank, never cussed, and loved the Lord. And he's, as far as guys full of integrity go, and a strong man he was. So he's been my inspiration for just wanting to help wanted to help people in general, and especially our military community and first responder community.
I'm gonna say, man, you're a very special man. God's touched you and blessed you with a gift to touch a lot of people. I mean, it's you don't meet a lot of people your age that's that connected and want to get in that involved.
Yeah.
I mean, you're definitely an influence.
An inspiration.
Yeah, well, I see. I was raised that you do whatever you do the best of your ability. If you're capable of doing something, you should go do it. And I still fail a whole lot, and I consider myself pretty lazy. But yeah, it was one of those things. I knew I was capable of doing it, and there's no reason not to do it. If you're capable of doing something, you can't make excuses. You have to go out there and conquer it. And
I love the attitude.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel the same way. There's no excuses in this country.
Yeah.
We live in a country where you can do anything.
Yeah, you can. And
it does not matter what your situation is. I listened to a speech on YouTube from a guy named Art Williams. It's called "Just Do It," and you can look it up. It's like a 20-minute long speech, but it's just just do it. Just do it. Those are 2 words.
Yep.
Just do it. I guess it's 3 words. Just do it. There's no excuse. There's no excuse.
I think the term was it God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. And I look at like David and Goliath. I love that story. I love it because a lot of the backstory of it is a lot of people see David as a kid who beat Goliath as an underdog, and then I look at it, I was like, dude, that dude was out there killing lions and stuff. Like, he's out there killing lions and wolves, and he's a kid. I bet like he saw that giant, and he's like, yeah. I wonder, that's why he has so much confidence in it, because he's been killing lions. And if I've ran to lions in the wild, ran to bears in the wild, and those things are like intimidating creatures. They can eat you and all that stuff. But like his preparation for that leading up to his fight with Goliath, I guess people always see him as an underdog, and of course, whenever you have God on your side, you're never an underdog. But like, he had a lot of training leading up to that fight with Goliath, and then with God on his side, it's like, man, there's no way he was an underdog.
No ways.
But I love that story, and I don't in any way compare myself to that. But David knew he was meant for something special. He knew he had the abilities to do it, and like you said, he just went out there and did it. The more excuses you make, the more you're going to miss out. Right. And especially if you're speaking to guys and speaking the word, if you're missing out on stuff, you don't know the cause and effect of you not talking to one person, because that could have been someone who could be the next Billy Graham, but because you didn't go out there and pour into their life, there's a lot of people who can miss out on it. And so that's where that accountability and that kind of self-pressure comes from, and performing, or just in preparation and performing for those guys. But I enjoy the pressure. It's fun. It's fun to do that.
Yeah, pressure makes things more interesting.
Yeah.
I've noticed your bracelet here. I'm sure there's some kind of meaning behind it. You want to tell us about that?
I've worn this for, 4 years now. I've been taking it off. It has an arrow pointing down, a cross, a grave, an arrow pointing up, and an arrow pointing down. It means Christ came, he was crucified, he was buried, he rose from the grave, and he'll come again. And a hunting buddy of mine in Colorado gave me up 4 years ago. I've been taking it off. And I'm surprised it hasn't broken, because I've been through Africa and Europe and Colorado and all sorts of places with it, and it hasn't fallen off yet. And
I'd like to have one of them.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a good constant reminder.
Yeah.
And it's always there. So whenever you're messing up, you're like, oh crap. It's there. You can't run away from it.
It's that accountability.
Yep. But last year we got a few fun elk stories. Y'all want to hear some elk stories from this year? So let's see. So a funny story how I got into elk hunting. My first elk hunt, I was 13. We hiked about 9 miles up to 13,000 feet elevation in one day, and I quit the hunt. I told my dad I never want to go elk hunting again. I hated it. And finally at 18, I kind of started getting back into it, and I was doing some outfitting up there in Colorado, and I'd ride on the back of my truck. I'll pack out elk for beer. And I got real good at packing out elk, and learned real quickly that beer was not a good prize for that, because you start walking long enough, and I was like, man, I need to be. Of course, I couldn't ask for money because I wasn't a licensed outfitter. I was just kind of doing it on the side. I was like, man, I don't know if I want to keep on packing out elk for beer. But yeah, through that, I got at Elk Hunts there for 5 years on the public land in south central Colorado, and now I work on a large ranch in northwest Colorado, 22,000 acres up there. And last year, we killed, I think it was 22 bulls. I was on 15 of those kills, and I packed out 20 elk. And so, yeah, we had a fun time with that. And
that's a lot of that's a lot of work.
And I was fortunate enough, I had a cow tag, and I shot a cow at 3 yards. And it was, and
you could have speared it.
I should have had my recurve. I had my recurve in camp. I didn't take it out, but I've been hunting in between hunts. Been hunting all day, and finally had to wait for my wind to change to get up on a ridge. And I got in the middle of a herd, and about 6 or 7 bulls bugling around me. And I was kind of thinking of an aspen thicket, like 30 yards or about 30 yards wide, 50 yards long, and with some scrub oaks, which were high enough off the ground you can see the elk moving. And sure enough, I saw movement coming my way. So as soon as I saw movement come my way, I was like, oh, well, something's getting chased, and the bulls are chasing the cow. So I immediately drew. Sure enough, there's a cow, and there's a nice bull chasing her. And I was like, man, I wish I had a bull tag. And they're coming straight at me. I mean, she has no clue I'm there. I'm already set at full draw. I mean, she's just plowing towards me. And she gets about 10 yards away, and about 3 yards from me, there's an aspen tree. And so I start leaning around the aspen tree. I was like, man, I'm just going to punch it, frontal shot. I'll shoot a heavy arrow, a single bevel broadhead. I'm going to punch it right through her front and get her. In the last second, she turns, and she just skims by that aspen tree. So as she's running by me, as she's running, put it through both her shoulders, and she runs about 70, 80 yards and just starts falling down the mountain. And with her, actually, my phone was dead and my inReach was dead. And we had a few of Steven's team buddies were there. We had a few SEALs in camp we were hunting with. And so I had a lot of qualified guys to help pack out, but I had no way of reaching them. I didn't want anyone to come up there with me. So I threw it all, I deboned everything and just packed it out in one trip back to camp. And so I got back there, and it was a little painful. I don't know if I'll do that again. But another fun hunt we had. We had one more guy in camp. And so we had one guy with a tag. We had 10 callers and one cameraman. And so we had 12 guys in the elk woods chasing elk. And we ended up arrowing an elk at 7 yards. And so all 12 guys were within 15 yards of the elk whenever we shot it. And there's a picture. It's on the Six Side Instagram page. We call it the Dirty Dozen picture. And right after we arrowed it, the photographer moved in front of us, and we were all cow calling, and all these elk were coming in every which way. And it's all this. It's just a bunch of grown men like giggling, and we're all laughing, and we're all holding our elk calls. And but it's a pretty cool picture of just everyone in camo all smiling after. I'll
definitely check it out.
Yeah, it's an awesome picture, and that was an awesome week in the woods. And let's see, I was also my father and I were able to hunt this year together, and he was able to take a really nice mule deer. So that was an awesome experience for him and I. The first time him and I have hunted in a while. And I guess in an official capacity, because he taught me hunting growing up, and I killed my first deer with him when I was 8 years old. And so I was actually the morning before, or that morning, I missed a mule deer. For my first time I've gun hunted in about 10 years, and I missed a mule deer at 70 yards. I need to stick to bow hunting. And my dad that evening, he is a former federal agent, worked in South America, so he's qualified in shooting. I'll say that much. And he was able to shoot a very, very nice 180-inch muley at 200 yards.
Oh, nice.
And so that was a great father-son experience we got to have.
Yeah.
And yeah, we had a fun season. I guess, what was it, 23 elk killed, one mule deer, and then I was able to shoot a few whitetail bucks this year with my bow, and was on probably a dozen or so other kills for exotics and whitetails there in Texas.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're a busy man.
Yeah, I like to stay busy,
Yeah,
especially in the hunting world. That's what I'm saying. I drink a lot of Red Bull during the hunting season. A lot of all-night drives and a lot of days where you can't take a nap. So you take a nap, you'll wake up all foggy and you can't perform as well in the afternoon. So you just got to, like they say on Talladega Nights, you just got to get all jacked up on Mountain Dew and go.
That's it. Red Bull, if you listen to this, sponsorship ideas right here.
Yeah. I'll have to call my buddy Luke who works for him. Maybe you can get me one.
Get them wings. Well, it sounds like you guys have a pretty big team atmosphere at Six Sight working together. And that's very cool. Does that come from military too? Just that whole camaraderie? Yeah,
I'd say some aspects of it. A lot of guys I talk to, once they get out of military, that's something they're really looking for is that camaraderie, that brotherhood, that community. And one of the things we're doing now is we're changing office locations. For anyone who knows Texas, we're in the southern part of downtown Dallas, and we're moving to just north of that area in a town called Garland, and we're opening up a 20,000 square foot new office location there. And with our offices and the Carry the Load office, we're also some guys are going to be in there running a for-profit and not-for-profit athletic training center for youth athletes. And that'll be a faith-based and like mentorship, discipleship program there.
Nice.
And so basically that's going to be, we're going to have a lot of awesome guys with kingdom-minded guys, and then we'll have a bunch of kids around who get to see that and get to see how some businesses work in different capacities, nonprofits, the hunting outdoor industry, and they'll have a videography team there as well that'll office out of there. And we're basically building up just an awesome community of people who it's just a huge kingdom atmosphere, you could say. But yeah, there's definitely is a real strong camaraderie with the stuff we do with Six Sight, whether that's some of our partners we have or the guys who come in and we run hunts with. There's guys there's definitely a bond with the people we work with and just the people we have in our small office. And we get some tension every once in a while with every office atmosphere. Everyone's real with each other, everyone's straight up with each other, and we know we all have the same goal of getting the job done. And it's really a fun atmosphere to be around. It pushes you and drives you, which is what anything you do, especially in work, that's something that your job should be doing, is pushing you to drive you to succeed.
That should be the goal. And it sounds like y'all have that. It's what you guys are doing in the outdoor industry, the hunting industry, and not only that, but even with veterans and for the kingdom. I mean, it really is amazing to hear all the things that you have your hands in and all the differences and impacts that you're making in people's lives. It's very cool, and it's refreshing to hear that.
Yeah. Well, I said I don't know any different way. So I really, people always say they can't take the credit for it, but I just don't know any other way to operate, to act. And I'm surrounded by a lot of good guys who taught me a lot of good stuff, and they allow me to go do a lot of cool things, which helps. So I do get a little claustrophobic in Dallas. So fortunately, they let me leave out and go into the woods and spend quite a time over there. So I can do well in a big crowd like this, but I could also spend a week or two by myself in the woods and be just fine. So I'm like a social introvert, I tell people.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. So you have Six Sight gear, am I correct? Or you heard about the company? And
I don't have any Six Sight gear. I would love to have some.
Okay, well, I bet I know a guy. I bet we can make that happen.
We actually, E3 had already discovered you before I did.
Yeah.
And then we ran into your booth in Dallas, and it, once we got our hands on it in the booth, that was the first time I got my hands on it. And I was like, we got to put these guys on our platform, ASAP. So we took the time as soon as the Dallas show was over. We put all your product on we built you a marketplace on the Hunt360 platform. So all our users can surf through all your gear and see what you recommend. How it works and buy directly from you.
Yeah. No, and anyone who's interested in that, my email, or I guess we'll have my email tagged to this somehow, but Jason is sixsightgear.com. I tell people whether they just want to talk gear, want to talk elk hunting, or if they're need strategies on elk hunting or wondering about draws, if I don't know the answer, we have guys who can help you out. But we love being involved with people from day one, even if they're new to elk hunting or been at it for a while, but from the day one to the very end of whatever process they're going through. I love being involved with that, if that's even outside of the clothing industry. I've been guiding just a little bit, and then Steven's a very accomplished public land bow hunter, and then a lot of the guys we deal with, they're very, very good at finding and killing elk on public land and calling in elk. And that extends to, we got guys here who work with us that are outfitters in Alaska, and I got guys over in Africa, and so
you got all kind of great connections.
We
might take you up on some of these connections.
A lot of people ask me questions, and I'll go ask my buddies, and I answer, and people are like, "Wow, you're so smart!" And I just have really smart friends. That's all it is.
Well, that's the smartness. You don't act like you know. You just go find out the real.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have to do the same thing too.
Well, we're all as good as what we hang around, you know.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yep, that's a good Proverbs right there. Yeah, iron sharpens iron.
There you go.
Yeah,
It's been a pleasure having you on. I really have been looking forward to talking to you and Six Sight. Wish you guys the best of luck. Encourage anybody out there listening to look these guys up and pay attention to their message and what they're doing. They're doing more than just selling apparel. So, again, thank you. Really
appreciate it. Yeah, thank y'all for having me on. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's been fun. Thank you, buddy.